All right. Welcome to today's class, Lead Generation 101. Lead Generation 101, I don't even like calling it 101. We're going to get kind of basic level as well as higher level nuances around lead generation. I think a lot of us have a hard time with lead generation because of what Rula was just talking to Harry about. You see, no matter what job you have ever done, I don't care what it is, there is something about every single job that stinks. When I worked in retail, literally stunk because I'd have to clean the bathrooms even as a department manager, right? I always had some of my employees do it, but then as a leader and as a manager, I still did that so that way they understood that I've been in their shoes as well. Lead generation, I believe, is the number one thing that gets us business, but it's also the number one thing that we all really can't stand in real estate. It gets better and easier over time. It gets better and easier as you do it and as you practice, right? I use the analogy of lead generation just like I use the analogy with the kids and the bike. You guys, most of you have heard this, but for the sake of the recording, think about a kid trying to ride a bike. Think about your kids. Think about when you were trying to ride a bike. Think about your cousins if you don't have kids. When a kid is trying to ride a bike, is that frustrating for them? Everybody says yes, right? But why do they keep getting back up after skinned elbows and skinned knees? It's because they want it. It's because they know if they keep applying themselves, it's going to get easier. Now, in life, traditionally speaking, our minds are much more willing to do things that frustrate us and are tough for us when we can physically see things, right? How many of you guys love to landscape and redesign your yard and love the manual labor behind it? Not many of us, right? Okay, well, I was gonna say not many, but I do know some people that personally find that feeling, right? For myself, if I need to rebuild, or let's say not even rebuild, let's say I need to make a retaining wall. I need to make a retaining wall. I've got to go to Lowe's, Home Depot, wherever your guys' favorite garden center store is to buy all those patio pavers. You got to load them in the car. You got to take them from the car to the backyard. You got to dig the dirt. You got to do all of that. But why do we do that? One, probably you're building a retaining wall to protect your house. Two, probably to make it visually appealing. We're much more likely to do those things that are hard or frustrating or stressful when we can see a visual result. Unfortunately, lead generation in real estate is all up here. It's harder to see those results. It's harder to push forward like a kid who wants to ride a bike. A kid who wants to ride a bike can actually see their friends have fun and an easy time riding a bike. They know they got to go through that pain of learning it, and once they have it, they've got it. I will mark my words, lead generation is no different. There's a reason why in every brokerage that I've ever watched, you have, so on the spectrum of agents in there, you have agents that do a lot of business that just seem like lead generation comes natural to them, and agents at the bottom of the pack. It's because once you get from the bottom of the pack and you do the necessary things to get yourself comfortable riding the bike or asking for business, once you get comfortable, it's like it's seamless. It just comes out of your mouth. And then that's when all the business starts to happen. So in a roster, even at our office, at Coldwell Bank, it doesn't matter what brokerage you're at. The rosters are weighted on each side. There's not a whole lot of middle ground agents, because you either get comfortable doing it and you're off riding the bike for the rest of your life, or you never get comfortable doing it and you fumble forward, you fumble through, do a couple deals here and there, and then you get there. The middle of the pack usually chooses to be the middle of the pack. Does that make sense? Here's what I mean by chooses. They have other jobs. Their spouse has another job that supports the family, and they're using it for vacation money, play money, whatever that is. The middle of the pack usually chooses the middle of the pack. And there's not a right or wrong or indifference, right? But even that middle of the pack has an easier time asking for business, because if you're just getting income for vacations and whatnot, and you learn how to ask for business, it becomes even easier because you don't really care if they say no, because you'll find somebody. I coach multiple agents, and our goal is three closings a year. They hit those 3 closings a year because they're very comfortable asking for the business, because if they don't make their vacation money, they're cool with it. But they also have this idea around hitting their goal, and 3 is very obtainable for them. So whatever your goals are and whatever we talk about today, I want you guys to make sure you understand and work with Harry on your business plan. Thank you, Rula, for bringing that up. It is not the easiest thing to do, but mark my words, if you can put your helmet on and barrel through the wall called lead generation, the other side is very fruitful. There's a reason why those top agents sound so confident, cool, and collected. And when they talk about real estate, it just flows out of their mouth. It's because it is just like riding a bike. You really don't lose it once you have it. The only thing that you have to do then is just kind of keep your skills up by practicing every now and then and going through those motions. All right. So let's just call this a lead generation class instead of 101. We're going to get basic, and then we're going to get higher level, and we're going to learn all these little nuances that I think will help you break through that barrier. I think will help you get up on those 2 wheels and just start coasting. Now it's going to take time, effort, skinned knees, skinned elbows, but mark my words, like Rula is talking about, you can do it. There's not been one single job I have ever done that I just started and understood it right away. I had to practice, I had to train, I had to do it. And then once you do it, it just becomes natural, right? Think about a job that you've ever done that you just walked into it, and in a field that you've never been in, you just walked into it and got it right away. Now think about a job that you've had where everything was sunshine, rainbows, unicorns, and roses. There was not one thing you didn't not like to do. It's hard to think about, right? Because everything has its frustrations, and lead generation seems to be the vein. And unfortunately, whereas I was in retail, I didn't have to clean the bathrooms that often. What I didn't like in retail, I didn't have to do that often. In real estate, we need to swallow the pill that the most frustrating thing to do is lead generation, and it must be done every single day. It's that consistent piece. Most real estate agents will tell you that if I focus heavily on my sphere of influence, heavily. And then all of a sudden I just get these gifts. Somebody walks in the office door and I'm the only one here and wants to buy a house. I do one open house around my sphere of influence's listing, and I don't even expect a buyer lead. I'm just doing an open house to appease my seller, and a lead walks in. Do the activities, and I promise you, whatever you believe to be a higher power will give you more fruit. Whatever your higher power is, it's weird. The real estate gods know if you're putting action in and effort, they will start to give you things. So let's break down I'm going to call it the 6 sources of lead generation. Somebody shout it out. Name one. I just said it.
Phone calls.
Open houses, cold calls, sphere of influence,
Door knocking,
Mailers.
Cold calling.
marketing. We got cold calling. Maybe somebody didn't. Maybe somebody said door knocking. I just didn't hear it. Door knocking.
Yeah.
Okay. Sphere of influence, open houses, cold calling, door knocking, networking events. That's what I was missing. Networking events. And
Yep.
And Rula said mailers. I consider mailers paid for marketing.
Social media.
That paid for marketing.
Okay.
Yep. I kind of got to wrap that 6 one all in one, otherwise we'd have about 10, and we'll get through that. So why don't we just start there? Paid for marketing. Rula said flyers. What do you mean by flyers? What kind of flyers could we send out? Okay, better question. What do you think is going to be the most highest and best use of your time, effort, money in the form of mailers?
Handwritten notes
Handwritten notes. To who?
to sphere of influence, or like circle prospecting, solds, and just listeds.
Perfect. So keep that in mind. We're gonna set aside handwritten notes to our sphere when we talk about database. Talk to me more, Anthony. Why would you send a handwritten note to a stranger?
Well, to be honest, you're a handwritten note specifically to someone, right? Instead of a door knocker, I'm like shaping those out, right? Is going to get a more open rate, if that makes sense. I might be butchering the verbiage,
Personal.
right? But more people are going to open those things, right? You see a door knocker, you're like, oh God, it just goes right in the trash, right? But also door knockers kind of mold door knocking and paid for marketing together. But I like the idea of handwritten notes.
Perfect. Yeah, handwritten notes. How many of you guys just said, wow, that would take me too much time? How many of you guys just said that in your head? Good, because that's what I did when I first started. And then I sent out a mailer, and I didn't necessarily do a handwritten mailer. But what I did was I typed up something on Microsoft Word. There was nothing glorious or glamorous about it in the slightest. I took pen to paper and signed my name, respectfully, Bruce. And then the envelope was handwritten. You know who did my handwritten notes?
Not
My
you?
handwritten, yeah, not me. Not me. I signed the thing, but the actual ink to paper on the envelope was not me. College kids will do it. You can bribe your sons to do it for lunch or dinner or to do their laundry. I bribed my wife to do it because I told her I'd cook dinner all the entire week. And she put the addresses and the stamp on. Anthony's correct. There we go. There you go, Brady. See, that's why Brady does heck. Ooh, I gotta stop cursing on these things. Brady does awesome business. Brady does awesome business because he has a business model set up and he knows how to lead generate and he knows how to shake it up. Half of what we're gonna, a good key point that we're gonna talk about today is shaking it up, right? You can't cold call 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, 52 weeks in a year. And if you do, you're gonna become a robot. And if you do, you might not like your life.
Wait, you're going to become a what? A me?
A robot.
Oh, I thought you said a ruler.
Oh no, robot.
Like what?
No, so you want to interact, you want to do some different things, you want to shake up your lead generation activities and models. So let's keep tagging off this. You can send out postcards, right? They don't have to be handwritten, but like Anthony said, they may not be just as effective. The first time I got a lead off of a mailer was the first time I decided to quit the canned stuff and do a handwritten envelope. So it was a handwritten envelope, stamp. I even had, I mentioned this multiple times, let's do it again. My return address sticker. So I ordered return address stickers. They're super cheap online. You can get thousands of them. My first name was Yor, and my last name was Realtor, with the office's address on it. I'm branding, it's brand awareness, it's embedded commands. The letter simply said, hello, my name is Bruce Carley, and I'm looking for who you might know in your neighborhood who's looking to sell a house. You see, I'm not looking just to list a house, I'm actually looking to help Kirk and Laura. I don't use last names, I don't want to disclose last names, but I do disclose buyers' first names, especially when they give me permission. No buyer is not going to give you permission to use their first names in marketing. If they do, they might be working for the Secret Service detective or something like that. You do run into leads that are like that and kind of protected. I'm looking for somebody to sell a house to my buyers, Kirk and Laura. Kirk and Laura have 2 young kids and they really love this neighborhood. And, we are just looking for that right opportunity. So if you know of anybody thinking about selling it, I'm sure I can save us on commissions. Have a nice day. Respectfully, Bruce Carley. Oh, I put my contact in though, obviously. I sent that out to 300 different homes in this specific neighborhood. I got 4 calls. I ended up selling them a house off market. I did that 3 more times and got nothing. Or so my mind thought. Here's what I got. For about every 300 mailers I sent, I was able to receive about 3, 4, 5 different phone calls from different people. I've only got, in that one instance out of those 4 times that I did that, I got 1 piece of business. And I was upset with myself. Now fast forward a few years later, because I stopped doing it. I'm just like you guys. We stopped too early. I'm just like you guys. I didn't stop and do the math. That one closing. Oh yeah, please.
Do you send it to the same 300 or do you send it to another, community?
Great question. That time, no, I sent it to different communities. I just took my buyers' needs and where they would want to live, and I sent it for different buyers. So Kirk and Laura, they bought a house with that first mailer. The next 3 people, I sent it out to their subdivisions and their towns that they were looking in. And here's where I went wrong in lead generation. We keep calling it lead generation, lead generation, lead generation. I didn't realize the power of database entries at that point in my career. Those other 3 people that I received phone calls from with my first mailer, 2 of them to this day are still in my database. The other people that had called me, they're still in my database. Not all of them, but some of them, I can't remember exactly how many are. I just remember my first time. Your first time is kind of like your first car accident. You'll never forget it. It's kind of like your first ticket. You'll never forget it. I did it multiple different times and didn't understand the power of database entries. I should have kept going with it, you guys, because 1, I got a lead and it closed and I made a decent amount of money off of it. And that money, like I said, if you get a $10,000 check, how much money do you need to put back in? How much money should you put back into your business? $10,000 check. Okay, read the MREA. You need to read the MREA to understand this business. A lot of people get a $10,000 check and they're like, oh, thank God, I got a couple months of cushion. Well, in reality, you're going to get about 25 to 30% of that taken to taxes. 30% of that should be taken to your business and 30% should be take home. So you're really only receiving $3,000 if your business is set up correctly. And here's what I mean by set up correctly. That $3,000 to me is great. That gives me some fuel. That extra $3,000 is your marketing budget to get you more business, to get you more $10,000 checks. Quit looking at a $10,000 check and saying, this is a cushion for 3 months. Look at that $10,000 check and say, this is a cushion for 1 month. However, I have $3,000 to go make my cushion for multiple months, because that $3,000 can turn into $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. When I was closing 50 houses a year, I didn't spend more than $7,000 a year on marketing, you guys. 50 houses a year, that's good income. And I only spent $7,000 a year on marketing. Now, you can argue with me and poke holes in my business. I chose to hire an assistant because I didn't know how to use that $7,000 a year for marketing. I hate marketing. I can't stand handwritten notes. I can't stand you writing on my envelopes. It's a waste of time to me. I am good with my words. I am horrible with my grammar. I'm sure some of you guys saw my post yesterday. Kama is not even in town and she's texting me my edits that I should make in my grammar. I can't stand that stuff. You got to put money back into your business. There's not one single restaurant owner that buys a truckload of food, sells out, and doesn't buy another truckload of food. You see how that works? You got to do the same thing in your business. Here's where I went wrong on that math. I didn't think and I didn't do the math. Those 4 mailers, I can't remember exactly what they cost me, but those 4 mailers cost me around $1,000, something like that.
What?
What's that?
I said, what?
Mm-hmm. What do you mean?
You said 4 mailers cost you $1,000?
4 times of mailing out, sorry.
Oh, okay.
I can't, the first time, I just remember the first time, it was 300 handwritten envelopes with that same thing that I just talked about. I did it again 3 other times. I can't remember what buyers they were for. I can't remember if I did 200, 300, or 400, but it's, it turns out to be, $1 to $1.50 per mailer. And I did around 800 to 900 mailers in those 4 times, somewhere in there. So it's about $1,000. Follow? Well, I received $3,000 to do it again. And I know for a fact, now that I'm in the shoes that I'm in, consistency is your best friend. I could go, you guys think about that. $1,000, I did it 4 times. I made $3,000, means I have another $3,000 to put back into it. I could have sent out close to 3,000 more mailers, and mark my words, I probably would have got some business. And if I didn't get any business, guaranteed fact, I would have gotten database entries. I was young and I didn't know how to do that. And now that's why my business continues to thrive, is because I just put back into it. Right? You guys know that saying, you get what you put in. It's no different. So with mailers, it's money, right? We're talking about marketing through money. Mailers are money. Handwritten is awesome. Don't need to. I've never had real high success with postcards. Postcards for me in my business was to help my sellers understand that was part of my marketing plan to help them sell their home. Meaning, if I just sent around a just listed postcard, I chalk that up as wasted money, but I got the business because of my marketing plan. And a lot of times we have to beat out other agents. And if you have a nice just listed postcard from a different sale that you did, or just make up one, and you don't even have to print like hundreds of them, just make one in Designs in Command, get decent printer paper like cardstock, print one, cut it, and then use that as your example to go to your listing presentation with. The reason why Bruce never had so much success with just sold and just listed postcards is because I wasn't consistent with it. Consistency for me would have been farming. I only farmed for a couple of years. It worked. I sent out some postcards. I can't tell you the postcards are what did it. It was my voice. It was my conversation. It was when I called or door knocked is when I got a lot of those. So it's up to you. I know people that consistently mail postcards every month to the same neighborhood, month over month, have been doing it for 5-6 years because it works. I just didn't have the time or patience. I was young. I didn't know. I'm like a Jack Russell Terrier. I gotta weave and bob. I gotta find my niche, and marketing is not my niche. So I just didn't do it consistently.
Hey, Bruce,
However,
I have a quick question. So I know this is more of a farming question, but along with the door knocking and the mailers, my question is, because I've been hitting my farm really hard. So when did you start mailing out mailer? I mean, like, how long did you wait after you door knocked everybody and then you sent out a mailer, and how consistent were you with that?
I started it off the rip. So I started with my 12-month plan. And the first month, I think I door knocked, then cold called, and then sent out a mailer.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I did that for 2 years, and I can't, that's where, like, out of the business that I got out of my farm, the mailers helped brand me. I don't believe they gave me the business.
I agree.
100% of the business that I sold in my farm was from people that I had conversation with. I never had somebody call me and say, hey, I know you don't know me. I've never answered the door and I've never taken your phone call. I just got your mailer and I want to sell your house. I want you to sell my house. The mailer was branding.
So less than 1% will do that. So if Bruce was to put out 1,000, he might get lucky and get 1%, not even 1%, that would call him and say, oh, I got your flyer and I just can't wait for you to sell my home.
Yep.
Bruce used it to get his name out there, right? Which what we've talked about when you're farming. It's all, and I'm going to say it again, mind share is market share. And Bruce's whole goal was to create the mindset that Bruce is the realtor and you need to call Bruce. And the more times that he reminded people of that in his farm, the more business he's going to get down the road.
Yeah, those were marketing, or those were just marketing pieces for me. Business, like, hey, I want to list your house, came from when I did that handwritten envelope. And it takes time. That's why I stopped doing it. My gosh. And then to pay somebody consistently to do it, my wife wasn't going to continue to do it. Any other questions on paid for mailers or marketing in that sense? Okay, let's continue with this paid for marketing. Facebook ads. Boosted Facebook ads. I'm not talking about your sphere of influence posts. Okay, so when we talk about sphere of influence today, we need to understand there's two sides to it. On one side, you're going to have social media, and those touches around the people that are in your friends list or follow you on Instagram, that's your database. So we're going to talk about that when we get to database. If you're boosting posts or sending out posts to the masses of people that you don't know, usually you have to pay for that. So Facebook posts, Google SEO, those types of things are paid for marketing online. I don't want to burst anybody's bubble in here, but I really need you guys to see. I get blasted with email after email after email with different free seminars and trainings from title companies, from this and that. And while I was away, I signed up for a, I believe, I can't remember what it was exactly called, but what captured me was paid Facebook ads versus paid Google ads. What's right or wrong? ? And I was like, yeah, I'm really curious, because 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you could get lead after lead after lead off of Facebook, burn through those leads, and it was pretty fruitful. You could get 100 different leads for about maybe $1 a lead sometimes. So $100 gets you 100 names and phone numbers. You close one of those people, $3,000 out of $100 investment, take it all day, right? But I've been watching that trend. Pick on Melissa Brashers here a little bit. You guys, when I give you guys advice and things, I'm giving you things that I know to be true, and sometimes it's not. And Melissa and I had worked on that for what, 6-7 months, Melissa?
Yeah, I mean, from like November through January really was when I was doing it a lot, and that's when I was successful.
But how successful? If it was successful, why'd you stop?
Because the price per lead like quadrupled. So I started out getting leads at like 30, 40, 50 cents. And by lead, I mean like contacts. And by the end, it was like $1, $2, $3 a lead. So I cut it off. But I did get closing from it. So I did pay for it. But yeah, if I continued to, it probably wouldn't pan out.
She monitored her business. Because of that interaction with Melissa, that Zoom video that I wanted to watch was very intriguing to me, because I never have been one to get into Google SEO. A couple years back, when Facebook was the new fire, Google SEO wasn't even talked about, because Google was charging an astronomical price to get Google leads, basically, for real estate, an astronomical price. Now the tables have kind of turned. So I didn't get to watch the live webinar. I ended up getting the 24-hour recording, and I just listened to it while I was going to bed one night. It was about 45 minutes long. I wish I had the recording, you guys. I didn't realize it was going to expire after 24 hours. Otherwise, I would have tried to set up some equipment to just record it. It was staggering. They said that basically because Facebook was so hot and heavy with that we as agents, title companies, and lenders had oversaturated the market. Meaning we had so many agents putting out Facebook ads that when somebody signed up for a Facebook ad, they ended up signing up on multiple different people's lists and started getting bombarded with robocalls. That's why they basically started to stop. Because people, if you're not the first person to call when that lead comes in and you're not one of the first couple of ads that they've signed up their name and information on, it's very hard to get a hold of that person. If you're going to do Facebook leads right now, and I'm not saying Facebook leads are bad, you gotta understand it has changed a little bit, right? It has changed a little bit. If you're going to do Facebook ads right now, you better have a program and touch campaign ready to call them methodically about 8 to 10 to 12 times over the first, I'd say 5-6 weeks. I'm not saying Facebook leads are bad. I'm saying right now the cost per lead is a little high, as well as the time and effort it takes. You got to have that touch program. People start to answer around that 4th and 5th time, maybe 6 times, maybe 7 times if they're going to get it. Now, Melissa and I went through that and we looked at her time. We looked at what she was willing to commit to. And it was very hard. You know, you get 100 Facebook leads and all of a sudden you get 100 Facebook leads. Now you have 100 people to talk to 8 different times. It's 800 phone calls to make, right? And so some people have that time and some people, that is your lead generation source. There's no right or wrong. You just need to understand what works and the consistency behind it. I did it for a while. It works. I became a robot. That was my only issue with it. I'm a mover and a shaker. I have a hard time sitting in this chair just doing this Zoom for 2 hours, let alone 5 days a week dialing internet leads. So my business, you know, you guys know, is open houses and sphere of influence and a little bit of networking events. If you're going to do it. Some of you guys will crush it on calls. I'm going to pick on Anthony. That dude's a machine. That dude knows how to talk. He's a high I. I'm not a high I. Anthony doesn't feel like a robot. Anthony gets a high when somebody wants to talk to him and he builds rapport with them. That's why he has 9 buyers signed right now and 2 listings signed. He has 9 ERBs and 2 ERSs signed right now. Is that from door knocking? Right. It's from him making calls. He's awesome at that. You find what you want. You find what you choose. Give me 1 sec. I got to text this person back real quick.
So I'm curious, Anthony, how many contacts do you make in a week?
So really, it is from calls, but it's in the whole model of, you know, the fortunes and the follow-up. So I get the leads from open houses. And then like Bruce said, it might take 5, 6, 7 weeks, right? 20 calls. That's a bit extreme, but like the way I do it is I get the lead from the open house. That lead lives in my cell phone and on my whiteboard up there that you can't see, right? For, you know, 10, 11, 12 touches, I guess I would call it, before they go off the whiteboard into command and onto a random drip campaign. So basically they live in my cell phone for weeks, and that's like, you can call it farming, I guess. That's like the 20 people that I hit all the time until I make contact, like relentlessly. I basically try to disqualify people so I don't waste time on them, right?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Paid for marketing. There's other ways to do it too. It's consistency. If you're going to do it, make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. I have not done too much research into Google SEO, but the webinar that I that I had listened to. I didn't actually watch it, but I listened to it going to bed. They said that basically the principle was that we oversaturated the market, and that if you're going to do Facebook lead generation, you got to understand that you need a pretty good touch campaign. Google, you pay a lot more per lead, but they seem to be a little bit better fruit as far as a better fruit as far as a viable lead. And here's kind of why. Facebook, people don't go to Facebook to start looking for a real estate agent or houses. They stumble upon it. If they happen to be curious about the house, interested in buying a house, or maybe thinking about the future about buying a house, they're likely to click on it. If they click on 3 and 4 different ads and have to type their name and information in 3 and 4 different times and then start getting bombarded with phone calls, they usually answer the person that's most consistent. That's the key. That's why Anthony's killing it. That's why Carson's working on it, right? Is because they're consistent with it. Some of those, so if you got somebody answers 3 different Facebook leads or ads and puts in their name and information, they tell the first person to buzz off, tell the second person to buzz off, tell the third person to buzz off. How does somebody tell somebody to buzz off? They hang up the phone or they don't answer, right? Now the first agent calls 2 times and then says, all right, like I'm done. I don't have a really good follow-up campaign. I forgot to call them. I'm inconsistent. Now I'm just going to send them an email. Same with the second agent. And then you get Carson or Anthony and they're relentless. 6, 7 phone calls in. They're the only ones that have been consistent. And now that buyer lead goes, yeah, crap. Okay, I'm buying a house. This guy's on my ass. Gosh, I gotta quit. So it works. Just follow it. So paid for marketing is something that you will start to do possibly when you start making some money, or if you have come into this industry with a little bit of a cushion and you want to start doing that. All right, we're going to get off paid for marketing. Next topic, let's go with networking events. All right, so networking events, hang on, I need to shut my door. It's getting a little loud. So networking events, think about mixers, think about meetup groups, think about organizations, think about sports. So my top networking events for my downline was Chamber of Commerce events and Longmont Association of Realtor events. So when I go to those events, obviously I'm not probably going to pull a bunch of buyer or seller leads, but I'm going to interact with a bunch of different agents. Through networking events, I started to get to know the CEO of the Longmont Association of Realtors. Through getting to know the Longmont Association of Realtors, she would give me a call when somebody was at a different brokerage, calling her, telling them that they're struggling, telling them that they're upset with their brokerage, telling them that they're there. And she said, hey, Bruce, I know you're not biased with Keller Williams. I want you to have a conversation with them and see if it's the brokerage or it's them. Sometimes it was the brokerage. Oftentimes it was that agent. And I convinced them to continue with the brokerage and that they needed some coaching, training, and help. And if they felt like they needed, their brokerage wasn't offering that, they should start to entertain Keller Williams. I grew my downline quite a bit like that. My soccer team, I play soccer twice a year in the spring and in the fall. I went into it and these people do not talk. We are there to play soccer. I was very surprised. I had no opportunity to really get to know some of these people, but I felt like if I played with them enough over time, they would get to know me. And then I thought about it even further and I thought, you know what? I signed up with my personal email. That was wrong. I wanted to play soccer to network, but I also wanted to play soccer just to be active, and I love soccer. But I used my personal email. And then I realized, oh crap, I had this golden opportunity to ask for business without asking for business. So I switched my roster email to my business email. And when I was selling houses, my email signature, like where it says fail often and fail forward, it used to say your realtor, your professional in real estate, Bruce Carley. So I signed up on that, and then my entire team started to get to know that I was in real estate. I had one person reach out to me and she says, hey, I know we're Facebook friends, and you're gonna see this Facebook post, and I just want to make sure I don't offend you. I know you're a real estate agent, but I have a longtime high school friend who's gonna sell my house. And I love playing soccer with you, and I just don't want you to be upset. I had never talked to her about real estate in the slightest. And I wasn't upset. Use your friend, I don't care. But it was wild how that started working. I didn't play last spring. And then we were shut down during the spring of COVID. So it's been a little bit since I've played. I'd say about 9 out of the 12 people that I play with came up to me and said, Bruce, how's it going? How's the market? What's this? How's that? I was not prepared on a Sunday morning at 8 a.m. for a soccer game to start talking about real estate. I was stunned. Networking events is that relational piece, right? Relations are built over time through multiple interactions. Now, there's only one guy on the team that I was consistently talking to real estate about. You know why? Because he saw my email signature and he came up to me and said, man, I've always loved real estate. I've always thought about getting my license. I took that gentleman to Bold. He went to Bold with me. He got his real estate license and he signed up with the Westminster office. I play soccer in Erie and he was from the Westminster area. He signed up at the Westminster office. Now it sounds like a great success story, but the dude doesn't do much business. He still works at his other job. I don't even think he's done 1 or 2 closings yet, and it's been a couple of years. However, he could be a rock star agent. I don't worry about that. I don't worry about how much my downline gets there, but we need to be open-minded through all sources of lead generation. I forgot to intro with that. I'm gonna take a pause right now. What are the 5 things you're supposed to be looking for in each one of your interactions? Tyler, give me one. When you have a conversation with somebody, what is one of 5 potentials that could come out of that conversation?
Somebody that they know that's a lead.
Okay, I'll just give it to you. I know you know I picked on you because I know you know the answer. I just probably not asking the question right. They're either buying a home, selling a home, investing in real estate. Keep going.
Becoming an agent.
Yeah, thanks, Becky. What else?
Or database.
Data. Yeah, Ricky. Love it. I'll go through them again. Buying a home, selling a home, investing in real estate, database member, or thinking about getting their license as a real estate agent. You got to be open-minded. Just because you're doing an open house doesn't mean you're not going to get somebody that walks in that's thinking about being an agent. Doesn't mean you're going to get somebody that walks in, you have a great conversation with, they have no interest in buying, selling, or investing in real estate. You guys hit it off and you guys have a lot of commonalities, their database entry. I think we forget that sometimes. I know I do often. That's why I constantly tell you guys, because I constantly reminded myself, right? Sorry, I meant to intro with that. So networking events. What else can you guys think of? Go to free investor seminars. I know Derek, where's Derek Zander? Is he on here? No. Oh, he is. Derek Zander does a meetup group for hiking. I don't know if it's truly on meetup.com, but he has a group that he meets up with to go hiking. I know Marty Kilbosky, yeah, I'm butchering that name probably. Marty is a runner. He likes to do mountain runs with his meetup group. I have him on Facebook and I didn't really know he was doing that. It's awesome. I mean, he promotes that, promotes it on Facebook, tags a bunch of people. I know for a fact he gets attraction. Now, if he has those conversations about what he does and brings up real estate, it'll start to be some fruit for him. Networking events are awesome. I love investor networking events. Investor networking events are pretty cool. You get a lot of investor buyer leads, you get a lot of buyers. A lot of investor leads are thinking about possibly selling their primary home, dividing up their equity and placing some of it in an investment property and buying another house. That's a 3-sided deal right there. There is all sorts of reasons or networking events will work. do not go to a real estate investing network because you're like, that's a waste of time and I'm not going to get any leads off of it. Chances are you're going to learn something, because if you're doing a real estate networking event, there's probably some sort of like snippet training, something on there. Both of them aren't on here. Michelle Kramer and Ann Carlson went to the Fort Collins Board of Realtors, I think inauguration ceremony or something. And they probably met a ton of agents there from all sorts of brokerages and walks of life. And they also cannot stop raving about Scott Peterson's top 10 things in real. Okay, Rula went, right? Cool.
Yes.
How powerful was that?
It was amazing. The time went by so fast. He's so brilliant. It was amazing. And there's a lot of changes to the contracts too.
Coming up, right?
Yeah.
Now, Rula, if you only banked off of Harry, Lori, and I, you would have never seen that class. You would have never gone. Thank you for interacting with the community. Harry, Lori, and I are only 3 individuals, right? Scott Peterson's an incredible instructor. Most associations hire him to do that class because it gets raving reviews and he changes it all the time with the most relevant information. It's perfect. It was how much did it cost to go to that inauguration? Right, it's your membership. Stop paying $650, or I think in Longmont, what is it, $700? Stop paying it and not using it. Right? She paid $650 and she got valuable information out of one thing one day. Now, Rula may be looking at the Fort Collins Board of Association of Realtors. She may be looking at it as with more intent to go to more things. If you're putting that money in, get what you pay for it. Now, there's a whole other side to it called RPACT and the political side of it that really holds up and protects our commissions. But you want to get through those things too. But there's valuable things through those networking events. All right, let's get off networking events. Let's do cold calling. Cold calling. Cold calling, you can do it in multiple different ways. I've seen people cold call through their farm. And when you cold call through a farm, you're more than anything building relationship and being a resource in the world of real estate for those people, because you're going to have multiple interactions over multiple times. You can also cold call around my 3 favorite: just listed, just sold, and open houses. Personally, I like open houses a little better because I've got something to invite them to, and I can kind of gauge the audience as far as when I want to ask for that business. Meaning, if I'm cold calling, and we'll run through these scripts real quick. Hey, good morning. My name is Bruce, and I'm with Keller Williams. I'm not sure if you saw the house down the street, around the corner, around the bend. It's 123 Main Street, and we just listed it at $550. I'm calling you today because I want to invite you to our open house that we're having on this Saturday, 11 to 1. Do you know of anybody who might be interested in purchasing a home in your neighborhood? Because if you do, I'd love for you to send them by our open house. How's your day going, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, or Mr. and Mrs. Neighbor? Get into conversation with them. It's a great hook to have a reason to be calling that person. And once you invite the people they know to the open house, here's what their guard does, right? As soon as you guys get a phone call from a number you don't know, your personal protection, defense, guard, whatever you want to call it, goes like this. Yeah, hello? You instantly want to know, who the hell is this and what do you want, right? That's what our minds say to ourselves. It's a protection mechanism. It's natural. Now that protection mechanism needs to be broken down. The only way you're going to start to get yeses and build rapport is if you can break it down. The open house invitation plummets that thing, in my experience. And then you get into conversation relation with them. I do just listen and just, or I did just listen and just sold calls. I got better at the open house ones because I'm fearful around asking strangers. I have no problem talking to my database. I have all the problem in the world talking to strangers. Some of you guys have an absolute problem talking to your database, but don't really care about talking to strangers. Some of you guys are on the other end of the spectrum and you guys just have a hard time with both. again, no right or wrong, no judgment. It's all about riding that bike and getting used to it and doing it and getting and moving forward with it, right? Riding a bike is easy today. It was hard when you were 5. Just listed script. Hey, what's going on? My name is Bruce and I'm with Keller Williams Realty, and we just listed a house down the street on 123 Main Street. And I want to let all the neighbors understand what their home values are. So we listed that puppy at 450 because of its bedrooms, baths, square footage, and what has been recently sold in the neighborhood. Do you feel like that price is in conjunction with what you're seeing as far as movement in your neighborhood? They're either going to say yes or no. And if they say no, you have a golden opportunity to ask them if they are curious about the value of their home, free of charge, no obligation, no nothing. And if they say yes, you can say, wow, you must watch the market quite a bit. I mean, most people that watch the market either are thinking about getting their real estate license or might be thinking about selling their home in the future. Maybe not today, maybe 2 years down the road. Capture them as a database member, right? Or they might be thinking about selling their house in a year. Who knows, right? Get cold. Just sold. Hey, what's going on? My name is Bruce and I'm with Keller Williams Realty, and we just sold the house on 123 Main Street, and it went a lot faster than we thought it would. Probably not, right? We know it's going to go fast. It went a lot faster than we thought it would. And here's the issue. Can you help me out, Mr. and Mrs. Neighbor? I've got an issue. We have a lot of buyers right now because of that house, and they're all interested in this neighborhood. And I feel like you or one of your neighbors who's thinking about selling their home probably get top dollar right now. Do you know of anybody who's even contemplating it? Yada, 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 right? What else can you guys think of for cold calling? The only other one that I can really think of that I've seen work, I didn't do it, so I can't say it never worked for me, but it never worked for me because I just didn't, was calling around a neighborhood to see if anybody wanted a free market analysis, a free CMA. I kind of got tainted with that, to be honest with you. I had a couple of agents that were in my coaching group. Like, you guys should create clicks. You guys should create different text groups and different lead generation systems. Like, every one of you guys that has these different lead generation models, you guys should be masterminding, figuring out what works. Like Melissa and I learned, the market changed with Google or with Facebook ads. Well, the market changes with us because of what we do. If you're not first, you're last. Meaning, if you're not going outside of that box, if you're not figuring out some tweak to make you feel, to make you stand out, it's harder to have things work. Constantly monitor and look at your success rate. I had to realize and swallow the fact that I'm good at scripts, but I'm not good at cold calling because I take no for an answer. Belly to belly, face to face, networking events, open houses, and door knocking, I don't take no for an answer as quickly. So I had to find my ratios and my niche. I felt like I was a great cold caller. It was not that great for me. I just knew the scripts, but every time somebody told me no, I'd say, oh, okay, great. Thanks for taking the time with me. Have a great day. If somebody told me no face to face, I always had that kind of objection. Hang on one sec, somebody's knocking. Yeah, what's up? All right, can you hear me? Cool. I lost my train of thought. Cold calling, CMAs. That script is really just, hey, good morning. My name is Bruce. I'm calling around. I'm a real estate agent, and one of the things that I've recognized is with our market trending upward, a lot of people are curious about, what their home value is, because we see all these things on the news and the media about our market going crazy. It's a hot seller's market. Things are selling way over list price. And what I've realized is that the general public maybe doesn't know exactly what their home might be worth today. Would you be interested in knowing what your home's worth, free of charge, no obligation, no nothing? And I can do a CMA for you. I don't say CMA, comparative market analysis, right? Now, here's where I like cold calling. Okay. You guys are gonna start to see some of these lead generation sources start to stem off of each other. Okay, Anthony's shaking his head. We talked with Sherry a little bit about her farming, right? Farming is a lead generation source that combines multiple different ways of lead generation in it. Obviously, if you're cold calling around an open house, is that the thing on your business plan, or is it cold calling? See, for me, open house was always on my 135 as the lead generation source, but the strategy around my open houses were to call around the open house. Okay. So let's jump into door knocking, because I also door knocked around open houses, but open houses were my lead generation source. I want to hit home on that. So sometimes we have to do necessary evils in order to make sure that our lead generation source that we would like to do is more fruitful, right? So door knocking. This is where I want to give you guys, well, okay, let me give you guys some tips around cold calling before we go into door knocking. While you're cold calling, the number one detriment I see people do is a lack of time management and understanding. Okay, if you guys walk into my office, I've got notepads galore, and if you ask me, I'm not a paper person. Meaning, I use my notepads to write down things and do things, and then I put it in my calendar. Then I put it in my CRM. Then I send out the email. And here's why. If you're going to sit down and cold call for 2 hours, you really want to make sure you can get 20 contacts in 2 hours. Just like riding a bike, it takes time, it's tough, and you have to practice it. But if you're going to cold call around an open house, you can hit about 20 people in 2 hours. Now, some days you're off, some days people aren't answering. Some days you get into this very long-winded conversation with somebody and spend 20 minutes with one person when you shouldn't. But on average, you should be able to get down to about 20 contacts per 2 hours. That's literally why bold is pretty easy, but hard at the same time, because most people going into bold haven't practiced that craft. Bold has you do 20 contacts a day, 5 days a week. Go ahead, Anthony.
I was just going to say, when you say 20 contacts, just so like I'm clear, because this is like the bulk of my business, exactly what we're talking about. Sometimes that might take me 50 or 60 dials, like phone calls, to talk to 20 people to have at least a 2-minute productive conversation about real estate, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. How do you know all of that?
From failing a lot.
Thank you.
Pain and suffering and toil.
Well, and
Me
you
too.
you probably keep numbers, right? So you sort of track what you've done that day. I got a hold of 60 people and got a hold of 15. So you sort of know your contact rate then. 'Cause if you want to get a hold of-
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's like all up here. I need to get better at tracking my business, but yes.
So I have, I see some chat comments. And some of you guys have the login and some of you don't, and I apologize. It just kind of comes up during these classes. I will give you guys my login to what's called Cole Realty Resource. It's a system that you can draw a map around the subdivision, and then you can pull numbers from it. It now has the capabilities of doing landlines and cell phone numbers. I will tell you, I think that there are better products out there. I can give you the free source because I pay for it. It's about $1,000 a year for me. I don't use it. It's a service that I give to anybody that gets on my trainings. It's called Cole Realty Resource. If you guys want it, you need to take the proactive nature and send me an email, and I'll send you the login, username, and password, as well as a, like, I think it's like 2 or 3 minute tutorial. It's just me kind of doing a screen share and showing you how the system works. There's so many other nuances to it you can feel free to use. Do not call the do not call list. So in the system that I use, it'll say DNC right next to the phone number, or it'll say okay. Call the okay phone numbers. Anthony, you're dialing, man. You're a machine. You're getting after it, bro. And you dial that last digit and you realize it's a do not call. Before you can hang up, little Margie's on the phone. Hello? What do you do?
I mean, okay, this is like a safe place, right?
No, don't get too bad here.
Okay.
No, it's a
Well,
safe place, brother. Tell us.
I mean, honestly, I have the conversation with her, the same conversation that I have with everybody else. I apologize, and I have had the person, I'm on the do not call list. Do you see that? Yes, I am absolutely sorry. I admit that I messed up. Now, when I'm going through and I have a do not call list, I scrub those out. But yes, you're right. Every once in a while, it's just like, and oops, sorry. I admit my fault. I tell them that it will never happen again, and I will mark their number in my whole Keller Williams system. And sorry, I admit it when I F up.
Exactly.
People are receptive to it, you know. People.
I'd probably
they-
just
they get
hang
it.
up.
No,
Yeah.
I don't hang up. I say I'm sorry, and
Yeah.
I end it very quickly depending on their tone. But yes, I tell them that I screwed up, and I do see that now, and sorry.
Exactly. I wouldn't say just hang up and get nervous. I go through my script and wait for them to tell me they're on the do not call list, or wait for me to tell them to stop. If they're on the do not call list and I can prove to whoever the powers that be that I'm not a repeat offender, that it wasn't that was a mistake and I was just doing my job and going through it, like you can show them, you can subpoena your phone list and you can go through and see, I called all of the okay numbers and I accidentally missed that one. I didn't realize it. The key is the apology. Say you're sorry, get off the phone. Here's the other key piece. Do not argue with them. You're going to get this system that says, okay, you can call. And then they're going to say, I'm on the do not call list. Respect it. Don't argue with them. Just respect it, apologize, and get off.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh, I scrubbed this. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I scrubbed this on the do not call list. Would you like me to add yours to it? Because for some reason it just missed it. And most people
Yeah.
go, yes, I do. Okay, well, have a great day.
So
Yep.
that's my question. Can we add them on the Cole Realty page? Because I had somebody answer and say, put me on the list.
Well, so I have a different line. I say I can put you on my list. However, it appears that you're not still in the do not call registry.
Yeah, that's
I'm
fine.
out of respect for you and your wishes, I'm going to get off the phone now. I just want to let you know I have a system. You might want to go back on the
National.
FCC's website and register again.
Okay, that's what I told him. I said, I don't have the authority to add you to that, but you need to call the national list and have it added.
Yep. I will personally add you to my list and you'll never receive a call from me again. However, you might want to re-register. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not on it permanently, even though the people think that once they do
They
the
think they do.
FCC,
Yep.
that they're on it forever, and they're not. And so you just tell them to re-register it.
So I don't know if this is going to bear any fruit, but I've started to keep a list of people that I accidentally call. And I, again, prefacing this, I do accidentally call them. If they're on the do not call list, I don't do it. But accidentally, they pick up the phone. You know, I have that whole, oh gosh, I'm sorry, conversation. I'm going to take you off my list. And then they don't know this yet, but they're going to be getting a handwritten letter from me. And it's going to be like, oh, I accidentally called you and the other day. And you know, we just have a house listed and so on.
Yep.
Relentless.
Bingo. when I first started, didn't know what DNC meant. My mind just said it should say do not call. I come from the medical background, and DNR is do not resuscitate. So I see DNC and I'm like, do not crack skulls. Well, I don't know what that means. Let's go. I had no idea. I was calling do not call lists for months. And it's funny. A lot of do not call people don't even tell you they're on their list. A lot of people that it says okay next to tell you they're on the list. It's kind of weird. Anyways, cold calling, do not call list. We got to hit home on that. You do not want that fine. I think it's upwards of $20,000 now. And that's what I mean. You need to not be like, the only people that I've seen be popped for this are the repeat offenders, the people that can prove that they just blatantly called people on the do not call list. And here's the key, the people that still berated or continued with their conversation after it was asked to stop. That is considered harassment. You're going like this. I've watched bulldogs in our industry. We have bulldogs in our industry. They're fearless to their own fault sometimes. That to them is just an objection, and they're going to handle it and still ask for the business. That's the only time I've seen people really get popped for it. I wouldn't be that fearful around it, but I also wouldn't call it a list. Does that make sense? Okay. I really apologize, you guys. I have a hard time reading chat. If you guys have something for me, shout it out. Okay, we didn't talk about different dialers. Mojo, M-O-J-O, is a dialer system, and it's a dialer system and phone number system. So you can pull phone numbers, and it's an auto dialer. An auto dialer, what it does is you pull your data, you put phone numbers into an auto dialer, and it knows how to ring through your computer, through your phone. And so you never have to type in any of those digits. As soon as you hang up the phone, it dials the next phone number for you. It doesn't give you a lot of time, which is good. We talked about pieces of paper all over the place. That's because when you're auto dialing, you don't have time to enter a new database member into command. If you're dialing from your phone, you have time now to enter that database member into command. And that's wrong. You're lead generating, you're not doing database entry, right? So I write down everybody's name and information on a sheet of paper while I'm talking to them. And then once my 2 hours or 20 contacts or appointment is set, whatever my goal is for that day, then I enter in my database people. Then I put people on a search. Then I set somebody up on a drip campaign. You see how that works? Do not think that your 2 hours of lead generation isn't working, or do not think that your 2 hours lead generation, you'll never, ever, ever get to 20 contacts. More than likely, it's because you're taking way too much time in between calls. If you don't have an auto dialer and you hang up the phone and you're not dialing the next number within 5 minutes or 5 seconds, what are you doing? Right? Because if a lot of people, Anthony said it, what did you say the metric was? How many people do you dial to get an answer?
Usually 60 to 70 dials to end up talking to anywhere from 10 to 20 people.
So 1 out of every 6-ish. So 1 out of every 6. So that means he has to dial 6 phone numbers to get a response. Now you have time that it's dialing, like ring, 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 listen to their voicemail, leave a voicemail. That can take, have you guys done that? Have you guys looked at your phone? So call your buddy, call Harry, let it go to voicemail and see how long it takes you from the first ring to the voicemail. How long that is. It's about 1 minute to 1 minute and 10 seconds, typically for me. Sometimes it's shorter if people's voicemails are shorter. Sometimes if the rings are only 3 rings instead of 4, 2 rings instead of 4, something like that, right? But now 5 seconds for the next dial. because if now I have 6 people I need, or let's say, so it's 1 out of every 6. So now I have 5 people that aren't going to answer the phone. That's 5 minutes. Okay. Now, if you double it and take 10 seconds in between those, there's another minute. Now you're on your 6th minute. So it's 6 minutes on average before you actually talk to somebody. Now go through the minutes in an hour. How many people do you talk to? Roughly 10. See how that works? Quit thinking you're lead generating for 2 hours, cold calling or door knocking. We'll get into the door knocking things first or next. If you're entering database members, that takes 2 to 3 minutes in itself. If you're taking more than 5 seconds to dial the next phone number, what are you doing? You better be going to the bathroom or getting water because you're all dried out from talking so much. How else can you get in 20 contacts? Relationships are built over multiple interactions over multiple times. Quit getting into 15-minute conversations with Aunt Margie, the retiree down the street who's bored out of her skull and wants to talk to you about the weather. Now, you can be very polite to Margie. You can make her laugh. You can have fun and joke around with her. But you can also set the precedence and remind her that the reason why you guys connected was because you're working for your clients. You're working for your business. 2 to 3 minutes per conversation. Some conversations are super simple. Hey, what's going on? This is Bruce. I have an open house down the street. Hey, Bruce, I'm going to shut you down there. I got to get back to work. Click. That's still a conversation. I asked for business. Shut me down. That's a no. Cool. Next. 2 to 3 minutes max. Okay. Questions on door knocking. We forgot. Vulcan 7. Vulcan 7 is another great dialer system, and phone number capture system. Vulcan 7. There's a few more out there, but I would say those are the hottest right now. Mojo, Vulcan 7, and then Cole Realty Resource I use because it's a little cheaper and it doesn't have an auto dialer in it. I used to use an auto dialer. I like auto dialers. I just don't do as much of it now, so I don't pay the membership for that auto dialer system. But if you're going to make calls, do it.
Yeah, and when you're using an auto dialer system, you're probably going to be, the company is going to try to tell you that you can use X amount of lines per person. So if you're a 1-person operation and they want to talk to you about a 3 or 4 line system, that's too much, because part of the FCC rule is that there can only be up to an 11-second gap, which is forever, by the way. If you can't get it to 3 seconds, you shouldn't do it, because what you don't want to do is somebody goes, hello, hello, hello. And all of a sudden Anthony comes and goes, hi, this is Anthony. Well, they automatically know that it's some dialing company and they don't want to talk to you. They're mad. So always go with, for you, I would do 1-to-1, and then maybe down the road, if you get better at it, maybe a 3-to-1, and that's about as far as you should get if you're doing a 1-person show. Okay, because that means 3 lines are constantly down for you, so you're always connected. But at the end of the day, you get yourself in trouble that way. So just remember that if you do in fact want to use an auto dialer. Sorry, Bruce, you're on.
No, I was reading some of the comments and I want to make sure we hit all questions and points. This is effective. Becky said, is it normal that about 1 in 10 addresses have a listed phone number? Yes. That's exactly why I think I mentioned it in my Cole Realty Resource training video. Pull big areas, right? If you're dialing 100 home neighborhoods, you're likely to get about 10 phone numbers to call. Well, out of those 10 phone numbers, you might get 2 people to answer, if not maybe just 1. So when you're cold calling, you can dial in mile radiuses around and still use the phrase around the corner from you. A mile is not that far. Pull massive amounts of data and you'll get more numbers to call. And then the more numbers you call, the better your response rate will be. Set yourself up for success and dial. If you chose 2 hours to dial, don't spend half of it dialing and half of it doing the laundry, getting up out of your chair, going to get coffee. No, dial. You chose to, stick to it and do it. Does the DNC include email? I don't know. I think so, but I actually don't know. Anybody know? I'm fairly confident it's all solicitation or something like that, but I really don't know because it's do not call. This is not do not.
I'll look it up while we're on the call.
Thanks, Harry. Anthony, you got something?
Yeah, this might be more of a one-on-one thing. So one thing that I have not figured out yet is how to quickly and efficiently circle prospect that whole area, right?
Oh, really?
I like literally, that's why I said
You have
toil.
9 ERBs signed.
That's why I said toil. I really mean that. That's not a phrase, toil, pain. I literally I open Google Maps on one screen and I write down 100 addresses. Then I open Been Verified and then I go through Been Verified, and each one of those addresses, it takes me a whole day to get a list of calls that I'm going to do for the next 2 days. So it's like 3 days for 4 or 5 hours of calling.
I love this conversation. If you're frustrated that the auto system only brings up one phone number out of every 10 addresses, it's because it was just very simple, right? You clicked a button and got that quickly. Our industry is built off of what? Doing a lot of work for free. And that's one of them. So Anthony's chosen to take the time out of his day to go through and find phone numbers for every address. What I encourage Anthony to do is break that up so you don't get burnt out on it. If you do week over week over week and you choose one day to just for 8 hours pull addresses and then go to Been Verified and grab phone numbers, you might burn yourself out. Week 4, 5, and 6, you get to that 8-hour day and you're like, not this again. So your system might be set up like this, Anthony. On Friday, let's say after lunch, during lunch, after lead generation, pull enough addresses and phone numbers to build your list to call on Monday. And then once your Monday calls are done, then take an hour or two to pull Tuesday's list, so on and so forth. And then Friday, you're going to be ready for the following Monday. That way you're doing a little bit of both. You're lead generating and calling each day. You're breaking up the monotony. You're not doing it for 10, 12 hours, in just one day. That's why, it's so funny. I used to do the same thing, Anthony. I would one day grab my list and then the next day be like, well, since I didn't lead generate on Monday, I'm going to do it for 6 to 8 hours today. And then on Wednesday, I don't feel like calling anybody or pulling lists. Break it all up. Same with handwritten notes for me, right? I don't have 25 handwritten notes to do in 1 week and do it all in one day. Some people do. It just those types of activities burn me out. I have 25 people to handwritten note. I'm going to handwrite their note, 5 of them a day. And then I'm going to call 15 people. And then I'm going to text 5 people. And then I'm going to go on Facebook and hopefully not get sucked into the portal and actually comment and like on my database posts, right? Be careful with social media. I had to shut mine down for a little bit. Not shut it down. I had to shut down the notifications. My gosh, those notifications, so-and-so commented on so-and-so's post. Oh, really? What does that look like? Right? That sucker is a gossip queen. They want you to stay stuck in that portal. Don't do it. Be careful.
I'm hearing that I'm
horrible at that.
probably doing it right. There is no easy button. And even though I want an Oompa Loompa now, I can't effing have one.
If you want one, I do think that there are some systems out there that you can pay for to pull lists for you like that, but you're paying somebody to do what you know how to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Bruce, I found out that it's not included. An email is not included, but there are guidelines. If you're sending out a newsletter, your newsletter has to have a way for that client or person to unsubscribe. So if you are doing a newsletter, make sure it has an unsubscribe. There are
Yeah.
fines that you can be fined by the FCC if you don't follow some of the guidelines. But if you're somebody who's getting an email, or, their explanation is, don't give people your email address, don't give people your phone numbers, and you won't get those things. But once they tell you not to do that anymore, you're sort of in that same boat of taking it out of your system, because then they can send something to the FCC. And if the FCC finds out you didn't do what you were supposed to do, they can fine you for that. Okay.
Is that something that is included? Guys, please interact. Maria, I'm not calling you out, but if you can talk. I can't, it's hard for me to follow these things. Is something that is included, is that something that is included in the smart plans in command?
Well, no, probably not, because you're pulling your data. So whatever you've created in your database is yours. Command doesn't go in and play around with your database. That's your material. So you have to constantly scrub your database. So if somebody calls you and says, don't you ever do that again, Anthony, or I'm going to turn you in, Anthony's got to go into his database and fix that.
Yep. So Anthony, you brought up something, and here's one of the resources I had pulled up for us. Anthony used or said company Ben Verified. I had True People Search pulled up, but let's just show them both. Is it BEEN? This one, did you pay for this one?
I do, man. It's so cheap though. I mean, it was something like, I forgot how much it was. It was so cheap. I mean, like $300 a year,
It's dirt cheap for valid information is what I've heard too.
Yeah.
I need to bookmark it. I have True People Search bookmarked, but I don't have this one bookmarked. Ben Verified, type in somebody's first and last name, hit search. All sorts of different products you guys can look for.
You can
True
look
People-
up anything on everybody. Like when I'm
Yep.
cold calling people, I know everything about their their police records and everything. It's kind of frightening, really.
Yep.
I've been verified myself, and it had records of me back when I was like 19 years old in Ohio.
And Rachel's still with you.
You use that for expired to get expired stuff too?
Exactly, Carson. I use True People Search for expireds. Yeah. Mhm.
You can search
but-
people or addresses, and it pretty much, I mean, I don't know what to call it other than an abstract of title. Like it gives you everything since the recording of 123 Main Street, its whole history for the past 100 years, right?
Mhm. Yep. Ben Verified is going to have more relevant information than True People Search. I always forget about that one. It was kind of newer in my mind. So here I am. This one says I live in Findlay. This one says I live in Longmont. I used to live in Findlay, and now I live in Longmont. So what I'm showing you guys is that do not get discouraged. Like if you see somebody's name the way that you saw it, doesn't mean they still live in that state. Just view some details. Go through. Yeah, I'm a human.
Hey, Bruce, do you pay for Ben Verified?
No, like I said, I forgot.
Okay, so
I
when
forgot
you pay for Ben Verified, guys, it looks a little bit different than what you're doing. It'll do the same thing, but it's not going to ask you to do all this stuff. It's much quicker. You're not going to have to check the boxes with the buses,
That was one of my old addresses. That is, I didn't even own that house. That was one of my rentals I rented.
So
Wow, I
Anthony,
can't believe
Anthony,
how
do you
long
know
I can't
which
believe
one-
how long your police record is. Wow.
I know you saw that.
Anthony, does it tell you which one they're living in now?
No, I mean, not now. It'll say like possible owners, right? And then like maybe 2 or 3 will come up, and it'll say confidence level 1 to 10, right? I mean, let's say for every 50 addresses I look up, maybe only 3 of them are totally inaccurate, right? But then you also run into stuff like what Bruce just said about the rentals. I might own a duplex in Fort Collins and I come up as the owner, but I don't live there, but that's who you want to talk to. And then I've had leads that like, well, I don't live at that duplex. It's my rental property, but I am selling another rental property that I have in Boulder. Would you like to? Oh, great.
Cool.
Does that give you the phone numbers as well, though? I didn't see that. Was that on that first page?
It does. And the same, it'll say confidence level and it'll go down a list of like 10 phone. Like for me, it has every phone number that I've had since I was 19 and my very first cell phone was singular. I've never had a landline. And I mean, way back, right? I'm 38. So it's like,
I do.
but the last 2 numbers, it says, which one's my current number and one's a number that I had about a year ago. It says confidence level, 10 out of 10. The other ones are like low confidence. Might end up calling somebody
Email
else.
addresses too, or no?
What's that?
Does it have email addresses as well, or no?
It does. It has social media stuff, all of it. Yeah, you can really dig into somebody's whole life, but like much like the social media too, you could end up been verifying me and spend 45 minutes to an hour just looking at everything about my life. I like purposefully block out the noise. I look at the home address. I make sure the home address, their been verified's confidence level is confident that that is the owner of that house. And these 2 numbers are how to get a hold of them. If that, I don't spend much more time on it. If I can't get a hold of that owner, or I at least don't get a voicemail with John or Jane Doe, the name that I'm looking for, it's like, move on. I spend about 4 minutes on each address. That's it.
Anthony, if I understand correctly, first you go in to Iris and find the address of the homes that you're trying to contact.
No, I literally go into Google Maps. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to do South Fort Collins next week. And like I said, I am no master at this. I am just now in my business after a year of toil, starting to get to a point where it's making sense to me. And the numbers that like leadership, like Bruce and Harry and stuff spit out so like fluently, it makes sense. And like now that I actually have 12 months of data to look at of my own toil again, like it's exactly what they're saying, 70 calls, 10 people. But no, I need to find a better way to do it, because I don't know. I literally go to Google Maps and I'll pick out 10 streets and I'll take pen to paper and literally write down all of those addresses. Then I have 4 screens in front of me usually. Then on this screen, I'll go to Ben Verified and I'll look up every single one of those addresses. And then I take pen to paper and I start writing. Or sometimes if I'm in a great mood, I'll just Ben Verified, boom, boom, start calling them right there. Just like, again, not spending more than about 3 or 4 minutes on any address until I get somebody to pick up.
So with Ben Verified, you do with Google Maps, you get the address, and then you can, and with Ben Verified, you type the address in, and then that gives you this listing of people. So you don't have to have the person's name to do Ben Verified. You can just have the address.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Anthony.
Anthony, I've got a question. I missed what you said about expireds. You can find expireds there also?
I have not jumped into the expired game.
Oh, okay.
I
No.
can't really comment too much on that.
Oh, okay. I missed
What
that.
Carson was saying, Michelle, is when you find an expired listing in the MLS, you have an address. And then you can use that address and Ben Verified to get the expired listings contact information to start calling them.
Got it. Okay.
All right, Carson, that's what you were looking at and asking?
Yeah, that was my question.
Perfect. Great conversations, guys. I expected us to be done at 10:30. So anything else with cold calling, I'll jump right into door knocking, and we won't spend too much time there because it's very similar to cold calling, actually. If you have questions, obviously reach out. All right, door knocking. Cool. We hit most points in cold calling that we were going to hit in door knocking as well. Door knocking is very similar to cold calling, except for you're just door knocking. It's usually the same exact scripts. It's usually the same exact methods and reasons to be there. I like door knocking over cold calling, again, because I personally take no for an answer a little easier over the phone than I do in person. I'm much more likely to say, help me understand and clarify a few things with somebody in person than I am over the phone. You figure out your niche. Now, door knocking, you know, if you're doing an open house, you might want to do an open house flyer. If you're doing a just listed, you might want to have maybe a just listed, and I'm going to call it a postcard, but a postcard is something you mail. You can do a just listed postcard, print them yourself, not mail them, and have a half sheet of paper that's like a flyer that you're passing out, but it's more in the postcard form. Always have something, right? The worst case scenario is a business card. So you guys, I wanted so bad to be one of the #1 people in all of Keller Williams in all of Colorado. I wanted it more than anything because I found out that the #1 agent, a solo buyer's agent in all of Colorado, was putting up about 40 to 50 homes a year. I was in that trend of about mid 30s to 40s. I knew I could do it with a little extra effort, and I had to learn how to lead generate methodically. There are times where I'm showing somebody a house and I have an hour drive time back to my house or back home, and I really don't want to go back to the office. I really don't want to go home, or I want to go home, but I really don't want to lead generate. I don't really want to do. I would sometimes just be in a mood where I showed somebody a house. Obviously, my buyers like that neighborhood. I take a pocket full of business cards, and that's all I would have. And I literally would just start at the next door neighbor's house after my clients leave, or maybe before they leave, right? Promote your business. Hey, you guys get out of here. I know you guys really like this neighborhood. I think I'm going to stick around for an hour, and I'm just going to knock on some doors to see if anybody else is thinking about listing their home. Go up to the door, knock. Hey, my name's Bruce. I was actually just showing your neighbor's house. My buyers love this neighborhood, but that house isn't necessarily right for them. Do you or anybody you know might be looking to sell a house? I know this is random. I just got done showing them that house. I just keep knocking. Tell them I was out of business cards. Now, obviously, it's just a business card. So if I knocked and they didn't answer, I didn't leave my business card. I just kept going. If I knock and I have a flyer or something of value, I'm gonna leave it on their doorstep most likely. If I spent a large amount of money on whatever I'm carrying around, I might not leave it on the doorstep. A couple different times, what I would do is I would do magnets. So Bronco schedules, Rocky schedules. Here's a conversion, a kitchen conversions magnet. This one's awesome. This is the best guilt give I have ever given out. It's a kitchen conversion magnet. Costs a couple bucks a piece to have mailed and all that jazz. But nobody takes it off their fridge because the season's not over. It's a kitchen. You're always going to cook in it. They feel guilty if they throw it away because there's going to be that moment that they want that conversion that they threw away. It's just one of those things that doesn't take up space in their house. It just gets stuck on the fridge. It can hold up other pictures and other things. And it's branded to you at the bottom with KW, your name, your info, your realtor. I used to door knock with some of those. Now those I didn't leave at people's doorsteps. I would only give them to people that I interacted with. Speaking of door knocking, I'm going to give you guys a tip. It only works this time of year. It's called reverse trick-or-treating. Reverse trick-or-treating. What you do is you get two bags of candy. One bag is for the little munchkins to reach their hands in and grab some. And the other bag might be something for the adults, maybe some granola bars or maybe a larger candy bar. And you stick your business card to the adult ones. You go around and you door knock and you say, reverse trick or treat. And the stares that you will receive are awesome. Do you know why that works so well? It's because they never heard of reverse trick or treat. They don't know what the heck you're talking about. Their guard goes, whoo, because they're curious now. The heck do you mean reverse trick or treat? And this is all you say. Hey, I'm actually going to be out trick or treating with some people. Your kids, make up something. My cousins, my kids, whatever that is, during trick or treat, and I won't be able to pass out candy. So I decided there's a lot of kids in this neighborhood that, you know, I wasn't going to be able to talk to and interact with. So I wanted to do a reverse trick or treat. Do you have any kids that like a handful of candy? Would you like something? Oh, and by the way, yeah, I'm doing this because I'm a real estate agent and I'm looking to know my neighbors. It's beautiful. Got 2 listing leads out of doing that. It was beautiful. Yeah,
And if you
Michelle
don't want to
Kramer.
do candy, you can do coffee and hot chocolate to those people who are walking their kids around. Hey, you want a hot chocolate or a coffee? And on it, you tape your business card on the cup because you're
Or-
using those plastic cups. I saw that last year and I thought it was brilliant from an agent.
Rula, you're on mute.
Sorry. The stickers. I mean, you just write your name, who you work for, your phone number, your email.
I taped it on.
Your-
If I'm
your-
gonna do
your-
it, I'm gonna tape
your
my
stickers?
business card.
They're like
I
papers
print-
that come with like 30 stickers. They're round,
Oh, yeah.
square,
Yeah,
and you can just pre-print them.
yeah, you can
Yeah.
do
Yep.
that.
Yep. I know. I like I said, Rula, Bruce did not
I love
start his
that.
business off in the right way. I sat there and did Scotch tape with my business cards.
But it worked. But it worked.
It worked, but like now, yes, that's what I do. That's what I would do now is I would just, they
Yeah.
make things where you can have sticky business cards and they're not
Right.
that expensive.
That's right.
Reverse trick or treat was awesome. Michelle Kramer, you want to chime in a little bit on this? Cool. So Michelle said that she had did it a couple times for her Bold
Sorry.
100. I did the same thing. My reverse trick or treat was for a Bold 100. I was trying to make sure I talked to 100 people in
one
one
day.
after. Yep.
So I got mine. Trick or treat.
Reverse trick or treat.
I mean, that was probably the best advice and, you know, little nugget of this entire meeting. That's amazing.
You got to
I
save
would
it
have
till
never
the
thought of
end
the
so
word
everybody
though. It's
stays.
great. Reverse. I would have never thought of reverse trick or treat.
I mean, wow.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I just went to the dollar store and got some bags and had my kiddos help me and put like 1 or 2 pieces of candy and did the sticker with my, I forget what it said. I can take a picture at some point and send it to you guys, but it was just pretty simple. And then I also do it at Christmas time with a packet of hot cocoa and a couple of mints. So I try and do a Bold 100 every quarter.
Perfect. Okay, questions on door knocking. Okay,
Bruce,
just like
did you bring up do not solicitate at doors? You know, it's almost like the do not call. I've been told to get out of my yard. In fact, a guy walked me down to show me the sign and I didn't see it. But he walked me out to show it to me. So just be careful. You know, some people don't want you to solicit or come to their door when it says do not solicitate. So just remember that.
Is it true though, we can still leave a door hanger? We just can't knock or ring the doorbell?
God, you guys,
That's no soliciting. That means nothing, right?
for all of you, for all of those, for all of you that are watching the recording and wonder why we paused it right there, there's a reason. Let's keep going. Database. We need to hit home on database. This is, I left this for the end because we have a sphere of influence. We have multiple sphere of influence training videos in which are over 2 hours long. The reason why I'm saving it for the end is because that is a separate class. I can do lead generation 101 through all of the other metrics except for database. I'm going to give you a little bit, oh, shoot, door knocking. Save yourself some time. Do not be the agent that door knocks on the door and waits as if your friend or your family member's coming to the door. Start to pick up on those cues. All of the lights are off. There's nobody in the driveway. There's not even 1 ounce of noise coming from the house. A dog who has an owner home that barks out the window will typically do this to look back for their owner. If the dog barks and doesn't look back, it's because the dog knows the owner's not home. Start to pick up on some of those cues. Knock on the door. 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 seconds to pick up on your surroundings. And then start walking. Here's the key. If somebody is going to open up that door, you're just down the sidewalk. You're just at the front of their lawn. Don't walk through people's lawns. Do not do that. Only mail carriers are allowed to do that. And even then they get yelled at. Walk on the sidewalk. By the time that you get to the front of their yard and walking on the sidewalk towards the next house is the amount of time that you typically would wait at the doorstep. Do you see how much time that can start to save you? Now you're at the front. Now, let's say you're almost already all the way up to the next house and the next neighbor opens. Go walk back around to them. You didn't knock on this door yet. Go back around and walk to them. They'll wait for you. That's why they open the door. They're curious. Save yourself some time door knocking. Database is important. Database is the same kind of techniques and things that we talked about. Your database needs to be set up on a touch program. 33 touches or more. You have to be doing quarterly calls. If your database just gets flooded with postcards or mailers and emails, and you're not interacting with them on their social media page, texting them, calling them, and one of my personal favorites, handwritten notes, your database isn't going to be as effective as you think. It's the same thing with farming a neighborhood and only sending out postcards once a month and never door knocking. It's just, it'll work. It just takes more time, more effort, more money, and you have to wait a lot longer period of time. Your database is one of the most important things that you can infiltrate. Tyler has been with us for how many weeks? And I'm only picking on Tyler. If you guys have success stories, I want you to share them with the Facebook group, with me, with Harry, with Lori. We're watching you guys. We want to pour into your businesses, but we don't sometimes know exactly what some of your successes are. I told you Anthony's success because Anthony told me his success. Tyler told me his success. He's been with us for a few weeks now, and he has 2 leads, and he's about to get 2 agreements signed, and they both came from his sphere of influence. It's your number 1 game. If there's anything I can teach you to do is to get over yourself and get comfortable talking to your sphere of influence.
Hey,
I know
Bruce,
it's hard.
When you said that there are like multiple hour classes on this that can't be covered right here, that's in that that series of YouTube videos that you send to all of us, right? I need to do better with my sphere.
Thank you. Thank you. I am never upset if you guys need a refresher course on where to find some of these resources. It's in the YouTube video library, and we just did Sphere of Influence 2.0. So Sphere of Influence and how to touch and reach out to them 36 times a year. It's an hour and 50 minutes. That we recorded back in October of 2020. That's a nice face, Melissa.
Thanks, I try.
And then Sphere of Influence 2.0, we just recorded maybe a few weeks ago. Hour and 33 minutes. That's going to hit home. That one, like I said, it's a much longer conversation around how to lead generate through your database. All right. Questions? Does everybody have that YouTube playlist? It's okay if you don't. I'll send it to you. I'm cool with that.